Hello, this is Eric Thompson. I am owner, founder, and lead financial advisor of Peerless Wealth, a registered investment advisory firm located in Columbus, Ohio. That was an extra long introduction, especially when I'm holding my wife's purse. So I'm gonna get right into it. The title of this video is Louis Vuitton, buy the company or buy the bag? So I'll give you a little bit of a backstory here, and after that, I'm gonna get into why it's, I think, some really good financial knowledge to have. This, I bought this for my wife probably 6 or 7 years ago for Valentine's Day. That's why it was the pink theme. And for the record, other than a belt, I think this is the only Louis Vuitton thing we own as a household. So it was a special occasion. And these things are not cheap. I think this thing was almost $5,000. And especially my younger audience, you see a lot of this stuff on social media, and you see people carrying these things and cars and these luxury goods. And one of the reasons I made this video is to kind of, I guess, kind of pivot your mind into thinking a little bit differently and own the company, don't buy their products. And so I had a little fun with this one. And I want to, for the record, for people that have their retirement funded, have an emergency fund, are making really good money, are secure in their job, and have all their financial ducks in a row, and you still have extra money, go ahead and buy these. Zero problem with that, right? On paper, I can afford this. However, from an investment standpoint, I'm gonna tell you about a little bit different way to go. But a lot of people you see carrying these around or driving the expensive car or wearing the expensive watches really probably shouldn't be buying them. So I want to kind of prove my case. First, a little bit about Louis Vuitton. It's a French company, and it trades on the stock exchanges. The symbol is LVMH. LV is for Louis Vuitton, and MH, M is for Moet, the champagne, and H is for Hennessy. In reality, they owned over 75 luxury brands. They own Tiffany, Christian Dior, Fendi, the watch company Tag, Marc Jacobs, and a lot more. In fact, the owner of Louis Vuitton is a guy named Bernard Arnault. He's French, and he's worth $113 billion, making him the 4th richest person in the world and the richest person in France. So they're doing something right. So when I bought this bag for my wife, I'm gonna round it a little bit and say I was 40 years old. And let's say that I had 20 years to go until I want to retire. And let's say that every year I wanted to buy something like this, as opposed to invest the money. But let's say that instead of it buying a Louis Vuitton bag or something similar, I actually invested the money in Louis Vuitton stock. So I ran an analysis, and I use Morningstar for all this historical data and all the returns. If you put $5,000 a year for 20 years, so January 1st of every year for the last 20 years, you put $5,000 into shares of Louis Vuitton stock, you would have put $100,000 away. 5,000 times 20 years is $100,000. It would have grown to $634,000, which is between a 15 and 16% average annual return. And that would create, at 60 years old, that would create guaranteed income using current annuity rates of somewhere between $40,000 and $45,000 a year, guaranteed for life, for simply investing the money that, I'm going to use myself as an example, simply investing in the company as opposed to their product. Alternatively, you could have bought 20 Louis Vuitton purses. You buy one every year, $5,000. Please don't fool yourself into thinking these luxury goods increase in value. As a group, as a whole, they do not. And myself and my team did a little bit of research on this. And if we bought a $5,000 Louis every year for 20 years and put $100,000, we'd have 20 bags, and they would be worth somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 on the aftermarket. So they do not go up in value. Every now and then you can get a luxury good. Maybe it's a special edition watch, maybe it's something that temporarily goes up in value, but I think a lot of people use that as an excuse to buy things that they just shouldn't buy otherwise. So imagine having $30,000 to $40,000 of used Louis Vuitton bags or $641,000 in Louis Vuitton stock. I think we both know the better investment. Now, you don't have to buy Louis Vuitton stock. In fact, I don't recommend you do. I typically don't recommend individual stocks. If you put $5,000 a year in 500 different companies, you just bought an S&P 500 index fund, so there's a lot less risk there because not everything's pending on one company. Your $100,000 grew to $350,000, which is about an 11% average annual return, which would create about $20,000 to $25,000 of guaranteed retirement income. So a lot of people talk about, or you read, hey, stop going to Starbucks and all that, and that all helps with retirement. But these big ticket purchase items for a lot of people, whether it's a watch or a luxury bag, if you can afford it, again, do it. But if you don't think you can afford it, first of all, talk to me. We can help plan together. And if you can afford it, I'll tell you can afford it. If you have all your retirement funded, great. But realize what I call the opportunity cost of all those sometimes unnecessary purchases every year, what those can accumulate to in terms of a lump sum at retirement and in terms of retirement income. And it oftentimes can mean the difference of just barely retiring or actually retiring the way you want to retire. So buy the company or buy the bag, buy the company. I hope you learned something. Thanks as always for tuning in.